to get you across the bridges in those areas where there is no train service, and those shuttle buses, the bus bridge service, will be running throughout the day as often as they can get those buses into place. With traffic at a standstill yesterday, and that's a charitable description of it. It was gridlock in many areas of Manhattan, and with only partial mass transit today, the city has set up a carpool requirement, and as we've been telling you, that means that passenger vehicles coming into Manhattan are going to have 3 people. Police have set up checkpoints. Here's one of the checkpoints this morning. This is at the Williamsburg Bridge. Anyone that tried to come through the checkpoint without 3 people in the car was turned away. This restriction will be in place today and tomorrow, 6 a.m. to midnight. These rules are on the East River bridges. They also apply to some of the tolled crossings, RFK Triborough, Henry Hudson, Lincoln Tunnel. The George Washington Bridge is the only exception to the rule. Of course, the Holland, the Hugh Carey, Brooklyn Battery, and Queens Midtown tunnels are all still closed at the moment. City schools are closed again today. They will be closed again tomorrow. Teachers are being asked to report to work tomorrow. Many of the schools have been used as emergency shelters. Obviously, there will be some changes as necessary for schools that are not yet safe to occupy. Lights are slowly coming on throughout the 5 boroughs. As it stands this morning, these are the numbers: 676,000 Con Ed customers in New York City without service. The numbers work out this way, and again, these are customers, so there may be more than one person in each of those households or businesses.
This is right after the aftermath. This is Hurricane Sandy's aftermath, the couple days after the hurricane passed by, in this disastrous situation there in New York City. So we take a look and see the restoration, the way they're coming back into pieces, little by little, back in New York City, as they're updating and trying to get everything come back to normal. We see what's happening there.
As we've always said, we go for the biggest number that can be affected. We go on largest clusters first, and then individual customers later. For example, if there's a group where there's 200 customers, we will go after that 200, or if there's a group where there's 2,000, we'll go for the 2,000 before the 200, and then the 200, say, before 20.
That's Chris Ollard of Con Ed talking about how they prioritize which customers get their power hooked up first in those areas where the overhead lines have been brought down. They try to make the decisions to go with the areas that can get as many people reconnected as quickly as possible, but it means if just your home is down in a block, you're probably going to wait longer than everybody else. If you see a down power line that has not been reported, if there is other outage information you need, this is the number for Con Ed, 1-800-75-CON-ED. Con Edison is distributing dry ice to those affected by the storm. It is being handed out in Brooklyn at the Walgreens at 532 Neptune Avenue, in the Bronx at 1200 Waters Place, in Queens at 121-10 Rockaway Boulevard. On Staten Island, you can pick up dry ice at the entrance to Great Kills Park on Buffalo Street. And then in Manhattan, regular ice is being handed out at Union Square Park. For anybody picking up dry ice, you do need to follow the instructions for safe handling and disposal. You will find those instructions printed on the bag. Let's get to the traffic center for an update from Jamie, who has been keeping an eye on how all of these changes and improvements today have helped with the congestion, which it really was gridlock. I mean, sometimes we talk about gridlock, and we don't really mean gridlock. We just mean heavy traffic, but it was locked up yesterday in some parts of Manhattan.
I mean, it was sort of like what we see during the UN General Assembly, but everywhere, no matter where you were traveling. But we do have good news coming your way on a lot of commuter rail lines, but first we'll get a check of your subways. And as we've been telling you, limited service is back today. It is free, as are your buses that are running on regular schedule, but detouring as needed. Traffic is horrendous out there today, especially through downtown Brooklyn, trying to get across the bridges. Let's keep in mind, the subways are running limited service. Here we go. The 1 and the 2 are in business, but the 3 is suspended. The 4, 5, and 6 are all running. The 4 is running in 2 parts. The 5 is express. The 6 is local. And they're not making all their stops, so keep that in mind. The A is running in 2 parts, but the C, E, 7, and B are suspended. The D, the F, and the M are all running. Again, some in 2 parts, so keep that in mind. And then the G is suspended, but the J and the L train are both running in different spots. The N and the R are both in business, but the Q is suspended. The big story are the free buses running from Brooklyn to Manhattan from 3 locations: Hughes Street, Barclay Center, J Street, Borough Hall. We are hearing from viewers that the bus stops are tremendously overcrowded and a little bit chaotic, so be patient. If you are heading to one of them, you might be better off walking. The buses are going to go into Manhattan and up and down 3rd Avenue. Port Authority's open. Long Island Railroad's running from Jamaica to Penn Station. New Jersey Transit buses are running, but trains are suspended. Amtrak's on a modified schedule, but PATH remains suspended. And then Metro North is back on the Harlem line, but Hudson and Port Jervis lines remain suspended. Staten Island Ferry is still out of business, but the Waterway and the Hudson River Ferry have resumed, and I'm hearing from people that they are looking good. Hugh Carey Battery Tunnel, Holland Tunnel, Queens Midtown Tunnel, all still closed. The rest of your bridges and tunnels, as we've been reporting all morning, have HOV restrictions. You must have 3 or more people in your car, although we just heard from the Taxi and Limousine Commission that taxis and livery cabs and TLC licensed vehicles are now exempt from these rules. So that's going to give a little bit of break for you. Otherwise, heavy gridlock right now across the Williamsburg, Brooklyn bridges and the Queensboro Bridge, so do give yourself plenty of extra time. Alternate side remains suspended today citywide, but meter rules are now back in effect, and you can check traffic anytime on 104 or 91.
Once again, this is right after the Hurricane Sandy passed through the area in New York City. This is the recovery process here as we take a look just to see what's happening.